So, in a kind of crazy bit of news, it appears that the player that has almost leaked that there will be a season is Paige Bueckers. It is Paige Bueckers who has now said what she said and had people reposting it. So, it says here, obviously this is an article from...
In a league where every word from players is carefully monitored during CBA negotiations, one star just broke the silence. Paige Bueckers, in what appears to be an accidental confirmation, told LMI magazine there will be a 2025 season. Not might be, not hopefully, will be. And the fact that she's the one saying it changes everything about how we need to view these negotiations.
So, shout out to LMI magazine for post. It says here, who has been tearing it up on the court and off the court this season's part of Unrivaled. And in fairness, she has been. If she robs Aaliyah Boston of Unrivaled MVP, I'm going to be extremely annoyed because it is a robbery. Her team is below 500. And it says here about her love of reading, how she expresses herself through fashion, what to expect from next year's WNBA season, and then brackets, yes. She says there will be a season.
Here's what makes this significant. The WNBA Players Association has been radio silent for weeks. The executive committee, led by Nneka Ogwumike and featuring players like Breanna Stewart and Napheesa Collier, has been strategic about every public statement. They're bargaining for guaranteed contracts, higher revenue sharing, improved travel conditions, and better maternity benefits. The last thing they want is a player casually confirming there will be a season before they've secured the deal they're fighting for. But Paige Bueckers isn't on that executive committee, and apparently, nobody briefed her on the media blackout strategy.
What it is, it's nothing. The league isn't anything absolutely spectacular. That being said, Paige essentially saying that there will be a league is huge. Because this is, it's good hearing this from Paige. No quote tweets. Nobody has really talked much about this. And yeah, this is a huge one because again, I've always said this where I'm regardless of the executive committee, there are 5 players.
Now, before anyone accuses Paige of undermining the union, let's be clear about what actually happened here. She did an interview with LMI magazine, probably scheduled weeks in advance, talking about fashion and her upcoming season. In the middle of discussing her style evolution, she casually mentioned expectations for next year's WNBA season, then added in parentheses, yes, she says there will be a season. That parenthetical is doing a lot of work. It's not a formal statement. It's not a press conference announcement. It's a throwaway line in a fashion magazine that someone on social media caught and amplified. But here's why it matters anyway.
But I fully believe it is Paige, Angel, Sabrina. Aaliyah Boston might be in that conversation, but maybe she's the 6th. But Paige, Angel, Sabrina, A'ja Wilson, and obviously Caitlin Clark. If they are the player, if those players say, we don't care about if you guys strike, we don't care if you strike, we are walking the picket line, there's going to be a season no matter what. There won't be a strike. I don't think those players will do that. I'm not accusing those players of doing that. There's a 0% chance those players do that.
There are 5 players in this league who transcend the collective bargaining process. 5 players who, if they decided to cross a picket line, would ensure the season happens regardless of what the other 140 players decide. I'm not saying they would do this. I'm not accusing anyone of being willing to break a strike, but the reality of their market value means their actions carry different weight than everyone else's. Those 5 players are Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Sabrina Ionescu, A'ja Wilson, and Paige Bueckers. You could make an argument for Breanna Stewart being on that list, but she's on the executive committee, so her leverage is already being used in negotiations. You might argue for Alyssa Thomas or Napheesa Collier, but they're also deeply involved in union leadership. The 5 I named are the ones who could theoretically force a season to happen through their star power alone, and one of them just confirmed it's happening.
I think Alyssa Thomas is a rugby player. She's a bit different, but Emma in the right you could build a playoff system around Emma. And I wouldn't be surprised if she decides to go to play with Rashid Mazian in she could decide to play with Rashid Mazian in Connecticut, and a system built around her, her replacing Tina Charles. I don't think again people realize this. If she replaces Tina Charles, with everything that team has, it's like, okay, now we're looking at a serious team.
Let's talk about what this reveal actually tells us about the state of negotiations. The league and the Players Association have been meeting regularly since the opt-out was announced in October 2024. Both sides have been tight-lipped, which usually means they're making progress. When negotiations are going poorly, you get leaks. You get players venting to reporters. You get management floating trial balloons in the media. We haven't seen any of that. What we've seen instead is disciplined silence from both sides, which suggests they're actually working toward a deal rather than positioning for a public relations battle. Paige's comment supports that theory. If negotiations were falling apart, if a strike was actually likely, someone would have briefed her to not make comments like this. The fact that she felt comfortable saying there will be a season suggests the players internally know a deal is coming. They might not have signed anything yet. They might still be haggling over the final percentages and contract language, but the outcome isn't in doubt.
Article, even if it's about her books, you take that as a big thing. Paige Bueckers saying it matters. It really does. Like, but like, I think when it comes down to it, I actually think the players, like the league and the players getting back to each other quickly means that there's going to be a season. Like, they're getting back to each other really quickly. I think the players are, I still think nothing is going to be signed until the very last day. And the season could be like, look, if I'm the players, like, it's not the end of the world if they delay it by a few weeks. If they delay it by a few weeks, the problem is if they delay it by a certain number, like
Now here's where this gets interesting from a leverage perspective. Paige Bueckers is about to enter the WNBA draft. She's projected to go first overall to either the Dallas Wings or whoever wins the lottery. She's one of the most marketable players to enter the league since Caitlin Clark. Her NIL deals at UConn have reportedly been worth over $2 million annually. She has everything to lose from a delayed season. If the WNBA season gets pushed back by a month or two because of protracted negotiations, that's a month or two of her rookie year salary she's not earning. That's endorsement deals that might get postponed. That's national television exposure that gets delayed. The fact that she's confident enough to publicly state there will be a season means she's hearing things from her agent, from players she's talked to, from people around the league that suggest this is getting resolved, and soon.
But yeah, look, this is an important one. It is very important hearing Paige Bueckers saying this because, again, she's someone that matters. Like, I don't care what Tash Cloud says. I don't care what a random, like, and I understand that they're absolutely they're caring about the little guy. They're caring about the players in the league. They're bargaining more for those players. Like, I absolutely understand that. But like, there are still 5 players that I do believe that if they decided to cross the picket line, that the league would be business as usual. Like, if the league lost every single player other than those 5, I genuinely think the overall ratings in the WNBA would be 80% the same. Like, I actually think if the league lost Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, because you can't just have Caitlin Clark. If the league lost Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Sabrina Ionescu, Paige Bueckers, and Aja Wilson, if the league lost those 5 players, the viewership will be a quarter of if the league had those 5 players and a bunch of random players that just came out of college. So yeah, that obviously is kind of irrelevant to the point, but that's just make my point for how important it is.
But let's zoom out and talk about what this entire situation reveals about the WNBA's current position. Because this is the most important collective bargaining negotiation in league history, and it's happening at the most critical inflection point the sport has ever faced. The 2024 season saw unprecedented growth. Caitlin Clark's rookie year drove attendance up 48% league-wide. Television ratings increased by over 170% on some networks. The All-Star Game drew 3.44 million viewers, making it the most-watched WNBA game in 25 years. Corporate sponsors who had never touched women's basketball were suddenly fighting for partnership deals. That growth creates leverage for the players. They can legitimately argue they deserve a much larger share of revenue because they're the ones driving this explosion in popularity. The old CBA, signed in 2020, allocated roughly 10% of league revenue to player salaries. That was negotiated when the league was losing money and needed subsidy from the NBA to survive. But now, the WNBA is profitable. Multiple expansion teams are paying $50 million entry fees. Media rights deals are being renegotiated at significantly higher values. The players want their cut increased to something closer to the NBA's 50% revenue share, or at minimum, the 30 to 35% range that other professional sports leagues provide. The league's position is more complicated. Yes, revenue is up dramatically, but it's not clear yet whether 2024 was an anomaly driven by Caitlin Clark's unique appeal, or whether it represents a sustainable new baseline. If they commit to salary structures based on 2024 revenue and then 2025 sees a significant drop-off, they could find themselves in financial trouble. That's why both sides are being so careful. The players don't want to settle for too little when they have maximum leverage. The league doesn't want to overcommit based on one exceptional year, and everyone involved knows that a prolonged work stoppage could kill the momentum the sport has built. Which brings us back to why Paige Bueckers' comment matters so much. She's essentially confirming what people around the league have been quietly saying for weeks. A deal is going to get done. It might not get signed until the last possible moment. The season might start a week or two late, but it's happening. And here's why I believe her. Look at the schedule that's already been released. The Indiana Fever's 2025 schedule shows them playing 40 games with 3 back-to-backs and 2 random 6-day gaps in the middle of the season. The Dallas Wings, interestingly, have 0 back-to-backs despite their star player A'ja Wilson historically refusing to play games on consecutive nights. You don't release schedules like that if you're genuinely uncertain whether a season is happening. You don't have teams booking arenas and planning travel logistics if there's a real chance of a lockout. The infrastructure for a 2025 season is already being built, which means the people making those decisions know something the public doesn't. Paige just accidentally confirmed it. Now, does this mean the players are getting everything they want? Probably not. Negotiations are about compromise. The players will get significant salary increases, probably better travel accommodations, likely improved maternity benefits. But they're probably not getting 50% revenue share. They're probably not getting fully guaranteed contracts for every player on every roster. What they are getting is a deal that keeps the league growing. And sometimes that's the best outcome available. Because the alternative, a work stoppage that costs the league its momentum right when it's finally breaking through to mainstream audiences, would be catastrophic for everyone involved. So when Paige Bueckers casually mentions there will be a season, she's not breaking news. She's confirming what the smart money has known for weeks. The WNBA and its players are going to figure this out. They have too much to lose not to. The question isn't whether there will be a season anymore. The question is what that season will look like. Will it start on time in mid-May, or will it be delayed until June? Will the players get the 30% revenue share they're pushing for, or will they settle for something in the low 20s with escalators? Will guaranteed contracts become standard, or will they remain a privilege for star players? Those details matter enormously for the long-term health of the league. But for fans worried about whether their favorite team will play next year, Paige Bueckers just gave you the answer. Yes, there will be a season. And based on everything we're seeing, it's going to be bigger than ever.